Alright, what do we got here today? We are going to be installing a new controller by Torp Motors. This is in anticipation of me getting my new 72 volt battery. So let's take a look at what it comes with here. Got this nice cover plate, very clean. This is all you're going to see, very low profile, very sleek. Got the hardware here, comes with some Allen wrenches, a couple of bolts. Here we have the main harness. This part ties into the controller itself, and then this is basically plug and play with what you got there. This one in particular is for the Torp display. I don't have that yet. We'll see if I decide to get it, but it is compatible with the stock display. So for now, I'm not going to need to use this particular connection here. We have a set of instructions here, which are very minimal. The real instructions are sent to you via email as a PDF, and there's also a pretty decent YouTube video. But hopefully, for those of you trying to install this, this will also help out. And then in the box itself is the controller. Pretty decently hefty. Got some weight to it. Very small though. Nice. Seems sturdy. These are the bolts here that we're going to use to connect it. So yeah, let's get started. Before we do anything, we want to make sure we turn off the breaker, unplug, and remove our battery. Once it's unplugged, we want to make sure, this is very important, to drain, see that? Drain the rest of the power. That's in case of shock. And then we can remove our battery. Alright, for the first step, we're going to want to start with the removal of the stock controller. So how we begin to do that is first we need to remove these two top bolts. Alright, this thing should just come right off. And now we want to get rid of these bolts, 4 in total on each side. Alright, next up are these two bolts at the top of the controller. Up next, we want to get this bolt on each side out. Alright, when all is said and done, we should be able to pull this out to expose the main harness and allow us to unplug the controller. Got a rat's nest over here of a bunch of cables, but do want to be careful not to snag anything. There's a lot of cables back here that are jammed in. Of course I'll have to re-jam it back in, but this should allow us easier access to all of these cables, which I only have to unplug from here. Yep, there they are. That's the bundle I need. Maybe I can get a better angle from down here, since this can now swing open a little bit better. Well, we are dirty down here. I'm gonna have to sweep this up. Alright, here we go. The 3 cables that connect to the controller. Just have to now unplug these. Should be a pretty simple step. Let's see how it goes. Oh yeah, that was easy. It's one. I'm always afraid of breaking these things. Pull too hard, the whole thing just goes with it. There we go, that's 2. And we got the 3rd one right here. There it is. That's 3. Alright, data cables disconnected. Alright, now we need to access the phase wires to the motor, and what better way to do that than open up the bash guard. So this just needs to be loosened up. This one opened up. Man, that was on there tight. Let's not lose these things. Man, this thing is dirty. I'm gonna have to clean this thing out. Disgusting. We're almost disconnected here. Just have to get rid of these connections to the phase cables and the positive and negative terminal. Alright, and we are free from the stock controller. There she is, all detached and sad. But that's okay. We'll find her a new home. Get her cleaned up. You'll be alright, boy. Just comparing the weight of these two. I would say the stock controller is a little bit heavier, but they're not too different. I thought this would be a lot lighter. Not the case, but I could definitely feel that the stock controller is heavier for sure. Now we gotta take these brackets off so the new controller can get installed. We can get this rat's nest back together, back where it belongs. wrench anything along the way. There's a whole lot of stuff under that ignition plate there. Yeah, you want to get those holes lined up right there so we can get the screw in. Both sides. All right, next we're gonna take our hardware set and we're gonna take the two shorter screws, not the longer ones, the shorter ones, which are these two right here. And we're gonna take our new controller and line it up with the two threaded holes up on top, like that. Then we're gonna take the two smaller screws and make sure we're lined up and get those fastened in there. Don't want to over torque these too much. I also want to make sure they're nice and tight, so it's not going nowhere. Now we want to make sure this harness wire is tucked tightly behind this controller so it's not in the way. Okay, time to connect up our phase wires. We want to match up the blue to the letter B right there, to the blue, green to the green, and yellow to the yellow. So let's make it happen. Alright, I just had to double check, but yeah, all of the washers and the spacer on this screw remains, and you just fasten it right on there. Alright, for the positive and negative, it's very important that the black one is on top, red one on the bottom. Very important, don't fuck this up. And now we're gonna tighten everything back up. Not too tight though. I think 3.5 nanometers torque is the spec on these, so just want to make them decently tight, but you definitely don't want to over tighten them. Alright, time to put the bash guard back in its place. Now that we got the bash guard on, we're going to connect the data harness wires. As I mentioned before, the exception is this one right here, which would connect to the Torp display if you have it. I don't, so I'm just going to leave it out for now. Now, one thing you can do, and this wasn't in the instruction manual, is there's this clip for this bundle of cables here. It's no longer going to have a place to screw in. So I just transferred it to this bolt right here. If you're like me and like to keep your wires as tight as you can, that's definitely something you can do. And then finally, we plug it into the controller itself. Until you hear a nice click like that. That's really all there is to it. Alright, now we got our nice cover plate here. It's going to give us a very clean look once we're done. And it just slides into the bash guard like that. Beautiful. Then you're going to use these two screws, which is all that's left of the hardware. These are, I believe, the longer screws that come with it. And we want to just fasten the top of this like so. Get these connectors out of the way. All right, and that is pretty much it. Looks great. Get this cleaned up a bit. We're looking good. All right. Next, I will power on the bike. I've got the Kaniwaba electronic pedal kit, so I don't know if it works with aftermarket controllers. But yeah, we're gonna find out. Stay tuned. Boys, moment of truth. Hopefully everything went all right. I'm gonna turn on the breaker. We got a 60% battery, I gotta charge that. And we will turn on the bike. Everything turns on okay. No issues so far. Then we're gonna get into the Torp app. By the way, got my bike on a stand now just to test it out when the wheel spins. Also, when you program the Torp controller, you gotta have it up on the stand, because otherwise the wheel's gonna spin. All right, looks like there's an error 5. Shorted on signal. I wonder if that is because of the Kaniwaba kit. Curious. So everything is working fine now. Good news. Bad news is the Kaniwaba electronic pedal kit does not work with aftermarket controllers. So for those of you wondering, no, it will not work, which is kind of a bummer. But otherwise, you can go through some of these settings. First thing you should do is calibrate the Hall sensor, which I've already done, but we can see what that looks like. Right, that's the first thing we should do. Hit calibrate. The password's on the side of the controller, and you want to make sure the bike is on a stand because the wheel will spin. Alright, looks like we're good. We can save that. Make make sure the motor's spinning in the right direction. So we give it a little bit of throttle. And yes, we are spinning in the right direction. All right, now for the throttle. We can calibrate our throttle. Just give it a slow twist and then release, and we can save that. And this is pretty cool. There's some throttle settings. You can adjust your throttle curve however much you like. I might mess with this later. I'll keep it like this for now, see how it goes. And there's different modes for sport and eco. We have some battery info. We're currently on stock battery, but new battery will be coming soon. Some further diagnostic info about the battery motor. Here we can set what kind of battery we're using. Currently we're on stock, so we're going to leave it on that. And here we can adjust the motor current, the battery current, the speed, and the regen. And currently my brake regen is not connected, but I will have the throttle release regen. In eco mode, I'm going to leave that as is. Speed limited. Make it 25. Keep that within the legal bounds. All right. Brake regen. Don't need that. So this allows you to bypass the battery without having to open the battery up. So I can draw more amps from the battery if I want. And this should result in more speed, which is interesting. So we will test this out and see how it goes for those of you who are interested in how this performs on a stock battery. So we shall see. Stay tuned. First test ride with the Torp controller. Currently on eco mode. Immediately notice a different throttle response of the linear versus a curved one, which is stock, I believe. It's more of a smoother throttle response, but it does feel a little bit less torquey. But of course I can adjust that. Left all the settings at the default for now just to see how it feels, and we'll tweak them after. See how it goes. But for now, eco feels pretty good. I can set the maximum speed it's at, so I set it to 30 miles per hour for now. Tops out at 29. This app, as I'm running it, keeps track of the speed. Kind of like a speedometer. Odometer tracks your trip live, which is pretty neat. After this light, we're gonna kick it into sport mode, see how it goes. Whoa, alright, yeah, sport mode is a totally different beast right now. I'll watch out for these guys and the leaves, but this thing rips on sport mode. Very different. I can get my wheel up from the throttle.